Let's talk about responding versus reacting. It's so easy to get personally offended by a teenager, but a lot of the time is due to the fact that there are so many different biological and physiological changes going on in their bodies right now. And it's really easy for us to lose a sense of empathy for what they're going through. In early adolescence, the body goes through more developmental changes than in any other stage in their life, except from birth to age 2. Think about all the changes that go on from birth to 2 years old. And actually a 3-year-old and a 13-year-old are going through the same thing. They're testing and exploring. The only thing is a 13-year-old has a whole new set of tools, but it's the same concept. If you want to understand a 13-year-old, go to a 2 or 3-year-old class. It's the same behavior, it's just a different stage of life. But don't tell your teenager I said that. You might notice that they're clumsy, and the reason they're clumsy is because that their bones are growing faster than the muscles. And they may look awkward to you, but you know what? They feel even more awkward. But we need to understand what's happening. Right now, there's this hormone cocktail that's flowing through their body. The body, starting in the brain, initiates a flow of hormones for growth. And there are a lot of things happening in this process. But from what I understand, these hormones are creating new grooves in the brain, and it's reforming everything. And this hormone cocktail is completely revolutionizing their body and their brain and their mind and their soul. Who they are physically, what they think, and even what they believe. And by the way, it's not a perfect process. Sometimes a gland releases too much of a hormone, and sometimes it doesn't release enough. And that's why so many times you have this crazy emotional kid, and then 5 minutes later, they're just calm. And you're sitting there like, how did that happen? And we know there's a physiological reason for it, but it's really hard to stay calm when they're up in our face and they're yelling and screaming. I'm not excusing what they do, and neither should you. But as parents, we need to have consistent consequences without a whole lot of emotional baggage. And because they're crazy emotional, if we respond with emotion, we can create World War III. One of the skills that we have as parents is that we can take emotion from others and then we can go deal with it in a healthy way. We can go exercise or work on the car. But when they bring all this emotion to us, we need to take our emotion somewhere else. But we can't take that emotion back to them because we might make a disconnection with the heart. And here's the other thing. Their prefrontal cortex, that part of their brain that deals with executive functions, like planning, reasoning, anticipating consequences, it's not really developed yet. And for some of them, it won't happen until in their 20s. They haven't figured out how to process potential consequences. I mean, sometimes you just want to look at them and think, how in the world? Where is your brain? How could you do that? Have you lost your mind? Sometimes I wish they had the ability to say, no, Mom and Dad, I'm sorry, my prefrontal cortex hasn't developed yet. And we could just be like, okay, but they can't. But I'll say it for them. Their prefrontal cortex hasn't fully developed yet. One of the greatest gifts you can give to your teenager in this awkward stage is to let them know that what they're going through is completely normal and that they're completely normal. Because in this stage in their life, they walk into a room and they think that every eye is on them. Do you remember when you were 13 and you had a pimple and you walked into a room and it was like everybody had a camera zoomed in on it? But we realized later that the reality is no one cared and it wasn't a big deal. But right now they have this enlarged sense of self and this enlarged sense of reality. And that's one of the reasons they act so crazy. If we can have an understanding of that, then we can be a little bit more patient. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you guys or anything I can pray for you. I hope you have a great week and God bless.